For a single decade, one locomotive held a freight tonnage record that no other steam engine had matched before or since. It moved more than 17,000 tons of iron ore in a single continuous haul, a figure that even today reads like a misprint in the ledger. Yet within 5 years of setting that record, every unit had been scrapped. No museum campaigned to save one. No restoration fund was ever opened. The locomotive's name barely appears in standard railroad histories, and when it does, the entry is brief, almost apologetic. If raw achievement is the measure of a machine's place in history, then this engine earned immortality. The answer to why it was instead erased reveals something uncomfortable about how industrial greatness is remembered and forgotten in America. The Norfolk and Western Railway ran its iron over the most punishing coal country on the eastern seaboard. Its main line climbed through Virginia's Allegheny Mountains in long, sustained grades that broke ordinary equipment and shattered operating budgets. By the late 1930s, the railroad's management had exhausted the options offered by conventional steam. Helper engines multiplied, schedules slipped, fuel costs grew faster than revenues. The solution the railroad chose was not purchased from an outside builder. It was designed, engineered, and built entirely in-house, inside Norfolk and Western's own Roanoke shops. The result was the Class A, a 2664 articulated locomotive that its own creators refused to publicize with the extravagance their rivals poured into press releases. The Class A was built for a single mission: to move the maximum tonnage over the maximum distance with the minimum number of locomotive changes. Everything else was subordinate to that goal. The Class A's numbers were not assembled from marketing projections. They were extracted from dynamometer cars and field logs. With a boiler pressure of 300 pounds per square inch and a drawbar horsepower rating of 5,500 at sustained speed, the Class A exceeded the rated output of many locomotives twice its price. Its 70-inch driving wheels allowed a top speed of 70 miles per hour under load, a figure that left railroaders accustomed to the laboring crawl of mountain freight engines genuinely disoriented. Norfolk and Western's own test records, preserved in the Virginia Museum of Transportation archives, document a run conducted in October 1942, in which a single Class A handled a consist of 17,390 tons on a continuous haul through the Pocahontas Coal District. The Pennsylvania Railroad's comparable flagship, the Q2, required double-heading to match that figure on equivalent grades. The big boy, purpose-built for the Western Mountains, never pulled a consist of that weight in verified service. What gave the Class A its sustained advantage was not any single mechanical innovation but a ruthlessly integrated design philosophy. Norfolk and Western's chief mechanical engineer, J.T. Collier, insisted that every system, boiler efficiency, lubrication, valve timing, and tender capacity, be optimized as a unit rather than in isolation. The locomotive's four-axle leading truck distributed weight across rail joints that would have cracked beneath a heavier rigid frame. Its cast steel bed, poured as a single piece at Roanoke, eliminated the frame flex that robbed articulated locomotives of power at high speed. The mechanical stoker delivered coal to the firebox at a rate precisely calibrated to the boiler's maximum evaporation capacity. The result was a machine that ran at the edge of its thermal limit without crossing into failure, hour after hour, in conditions where Leffer locomotives either slipped or stalled. The Class A's finest hour came not on a ceremonial run or a press excursion, but on an ordinary working shift in the winter of 1944, when wartime demand pushed the Pocahontas coal line to its breaking point. A crew out of Bluefield, Virginia, logged a 12-hour tour of duty during which their Class A moved a freight consist that required two Norfolk and Western J-class steam locomotives to halt on a parallel division. The log entry, preserved in the railroad's Roanoke Maintenance Archive, contains no dramatic language. It simply records the tonnage, the fuel consumed, the time elapsed, and the notation that no unscheduled stops were required. For the men in the cab, the record was simply the job. Behind the operational triumph, the pressures that would eventually erase the Class A were already accumulating. Each locomotive in the fleet demanded a specialized supply chain that no other railroad in the country shared. Replacement castings for the compound valve gear had to be manufactured at Roanoke. Turbo generator components were not interchangeable with General Motors or Baldwin parts. When Norfolk and Western's management began its diesel conversion study in 1953, the analysis placed the Class A's per-mile maintenance cost 22% above the railroad's newest Electromotive Division road units, even after accounting for the higher purchase price. The Finance Committee's recommendation was unambiguous. The gap would widen, not narrow, as the diesel fleet matured and scale drove parts costs down. There would be no reprieve. Norfolk and Western's decision not to preserve a Class A was not an oversight. It was a deliberate institutional choice, made under the same logic that governed every other resource allocation decision the railroad made. Storage cost money. Moving a 600,000-pound locomotive to a museum required specialized rigging that the railroad's capital budget could not justify for a machine that would never generate revenue again. Board minutes from February 1959 record the motion to authorize scrapping of the remaining Class A fleet without dissent. By the end of that calendar year, the locomotives that had set a world freight tonnage record were gone. The Virginia Museum of Transportation holds a Norfolk and Western J-class passenger locomotive in immaculate condition, restored with the railroad's cooperation. The Class A has no equivalent memorial. The pattern is not unique to Norfolk and Western. The machines that industry remembers are rarely the ones that performed best in field conditions. They are the ones that survived long enough to be recognized as worth saving. And survival was itself a product of timing, institutional sentiment, and the accident of which railway executive happened to value history over scrap value. The Class A set its record in wartime when no one was counting anything but tons per train. By the time peacetime allowed for reflection, the diesel had already made the case that steam's future was behind it. A locomotive that had moved 17,000 tons through a Virginia mountain pass in 1944 was, by 1958, simply a liability on a balance sheet. Today, as transportation engineers debate the economics of hydrogen fuel cells and battery electric freight locomotives, the Class A story offers a precise and uncomfortable lesson. Technical superiority, verified by instruments and documented in ink, does not guarantee a place in memory. Only preservation does, and preservation is always somebody's decision.